Good afternoon and welcome to today's IELTS analysis class, where we will be looking at an IELTS task that you have completed as part of the Facebook group, and I will be going through the answers to the questions. So as usual, please let me know if you are watching live. Just say hi in the chat, and if you have any suggestions for answers as I'm going through the tasks, then also let me know in the chat box on Facebook or YouTube. We are broadcasting live on both platforms, and we can see if together we can get the answers correct. So let's bring up the task for today that we are going to be looking at. We will see that we have a description, and from that description we need to be able to identify what the different parts of a diagram are. Okay, so we need to be able to label the diagram by looking at the description. So I will be switching between both the description and the diagram in this video so that we can label it correctly. Hello, Gawada. Thanks for saying hi and joining us today for today's class. As I said, anyone else who is watching us live, say hi and welcome to the class. So let's see then. First of all, as we are looking at this description, we will see that we have information relating to the door on the left. So it says, as you enter the building through the door on the left, this is important information, isn't it? It's on the left. There are two rooms on either side of you. Okay, so two rooms either side. Okay, so either side in this context, on both sides of you. So the women's changing rooms on the right and the men's changing rooms on the left. Okay, so let's have a look now then at the diagram and see if we can identify the men's and the women's changing rooms. Let's see. Okay, so if we go to our diagram, which is just here, so you enter the door on your left. Okay, either side of you are the changing rooms, and it said that there were the women's changing rooms on the right. So as you enter, your right is here, so this will be the women's changing room. So just for short, I'll put WCRs, okay, women's changing rooms. And on the left, we have the men's changing rooms. So I'll put MCRs here for men's changing rooms. And so we've got two parts of the diagram labeled. The key to remember is that as you enter, so you're entering the room, here you have left. Yeah, that'll be where your left side is, and here would be the right. So that's how we can see the difference between the men's changing rooms and the women's changing rooms. If you struggle a little bit with directions, then this sort of task can be a bit of a challenge, but that's how we would orientate ourselves. Okay, so let's go back to the article so we can find out some more information. Hello, by the way, Alice and Zia, great to see you here. Let's see. So we are going to have a look now then at the next part. So it says, in the corner of the changing rooms, there are showers. Okay, so that may or may not be important information, but let's just underline that just in case we need it. Working further along the corridor, you can see our equipment room, which we use to store all the balls, nets, mats, etc. Okay, so further along the corridor, we have the equipment room. Just underline that. Again, we might need that. Across the corridor from that room is the weightlifting room. Okay. So again, what we need to do here is identify the specific information we need. We don't really need the details. Do we need balls, nets, mats? Do we need to know that many sportsmen and women want to work on their strengths these days? No, we don't really need that. What we need is just the prepositions of place, further along, across, opposite, and we need to know what the names of the rooms are. So let's see if from underlining this information, we can identify more rooms. Let's have a go. So if we go back to the description, so that's what it says, isn't it? It said across the corridor, sorry, walking further along the corridor, you can see our equipment room. So walking further along the corridor, the equipment room. So that would be just here. And just to make it easier, I'll put EQ room. I won't put ER because that might make you think of emergency room. But we'll stick with EQ room here. Okay, so yeah, further along the corridor, you can see our equipment room. And then across the corridor from that room is the weightlifting room. Okay, so across the corridor from that room. So, okay, so the weightlifting room would be here, but we're not labeling the weightlifting room. So that doesn't necessarily help us. So we've got 3 more parts of the diagram we want to label. Let's go back to the description. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. Okay, so let's go back to the description. As I said, I'm just going to share that now. I can see we've got some answers, by the way, so we can have a look at those. Isa has said the women's changing room for number 1. Number 1, the women's changing room. No. No, I have to look at that a bit more carefully. Okay, I can see you've changed your answers later. So we'll have a look at that again, Isa, in just a moment. So back to the description then. So it then goes on to say the 2 rooms at the end of the corridor are very important ones. On the right is the creche. So at the end of the corridor, the right is the creche. We don't need to know why. Opposite the creche is our first aid room. Okay. It's reassuring to know that despite space being at a premium, it's got all the latest equipment for dealing with both slight and serious injuries. Yeah, so that gives us more information we don't need. Both the creche and the first aid centre look out onto the main sports hall. Okay, the main sports hall, which can accommodate tennis, basketball, badminton, 5-a-side soccer. So yeah, the creche and the first aid centre look out onto the main sports hall. That will probably be important. As you leave the building, have a look at the fruit trees planted on either side of the entrance. To remind people of a healthy lifestyle. 3 plum trees on your right and 3 apple trees on your left. Okay. So we've got the answers there, haven't we? First of all, we've just finished looking at the trees, but let's do this in order. Okay, so let's go back to the diagram one more time so we can finish labeling it. Let's see what we've got here. So back to the diagram. Okay, so can we get number 6 then now? Let's see if we can. We should be able to from what we underlined, because it said that the 2 rooms at the end said on the right is the creche. So again, as we're walking here on the right, well, that would be here, wouldn't it? This one would be the creche as you're walking through. On the right is the creche, and then on the left Opposite our creche, it says, is the first aid room. So that would mean then that the answer here should be first aid. So let's put that here, because it's opposite the creche. So basically it means it's on the left. So that's what we should have here. Yeah, the first aid room. Okay, I'll just put R again for room, just for the interest of space. And for number 5, it said at the end that it had the main sports hall. Yeah, so it said both the creche and the first aid centre look out onto the main sports hall. So if they look out onto the main sports hall, that must be here. Yeah, so let's just call that MSH for main sports hall. And the final part of the description focused on the trees. Okay, either side of the entrance, 3 plum trees on your right, 3 apple trees on your left. Okay, so in this case then, as we look out of the building, so we're going out of the building again. It's only showing us this way to enter and exit. So to go out of the building, our left now is actually the opposite side. So this will be the left, and this will be the right, because we've reorientated ourselves now. And so in this case then, the trees on the right are the plum trees, on the left we've got the apple trees. So yeah, so these would be the plum trees. Okay. Call them plum teas. So these are the answers then we should have got for this task. Thank you for sharing your answers with us, Aitza. I can see some of your answers were correct. Some of them maybe look like they should be adjusted slightly. So just make sure you're reading the description very carefully. Again, there can be sometimes trickiness in identifying the prepositions, but the key is to underline the key prepositions that we need and the key descriptions that we need so that we can get the answers correct. And you can see what I've underlined here, and what I've underlined is what gives the answers to the questions. So thank you for watching the class today. I hope you found it useful, and good luck in your future studies. Just before I go, a quick hello to Dorothy and Cheryl. Thank you for watching the class live today, and I hope to see you again on Thursday for our next class. Until then, take care.